Hi, this is okay. Welcome back to my channel. I was reading some of these comments that some folks that were let go by SpaceX and was it Tesla recently, and they were criticizing Elon Musk, saying, "Well, quote, he's such an embarrassment." Well, I may put it to you in terms you can understand. Let's size up Elon Musk to some of the people that I used to work under when I worked for New York City Transit for 33 years. Let's say Train Daddy himself. I think they're both equal at that point. Very smart, intelligent people, know what they're doing, great personalities, and so on. Now, let's compare Elon Musk to what I think is probably one of the worst presidents we ever had in New York City Transit, Lawrence G. Ruder. Why did I pick him? Because this is a person who is a history of controversies, embarrassments, and other issues that it should be looked into. For those who don't know who the heck Lawrence G. Ruder is, he used to work with Dave L. Gunn back in the 80s and 90s when Gunn was running New York City Transit as its president. He's the one who brought the system back to its good state of operations, but he did it at the expense of the union. Not union friendly, let's say that, but he did his job. Lawrence G. Ruder, on the other hand, he thought he was going to take over for Dave L. Gunn when he left, but they picked another individual, so he left, went to work for Washington Metro. This is an agency that I can't stand, because the Washington Metro, despite being a computer-based operation train and computerized signals and so on, you would think this is like the BART comparison on the East Coast. Nothing from the truth. Despite the computerized system and everything, it is like one of the worst systems on the East Coast. Because unfortunately, the management don't seem to get their act together. And why did I say that? You had derailments, you had fires, you had collisions, especially with the first generation trains that they had. They were told many times from the National Transportation Board, either fix them or replace them. They took too long to do that. So what happens? The last major crash they had, the equipment came apart, killing 9 people, including a well-known individual and his wife. This individual was working for the Washington, D.C. National Guard that was protecting Washington through September 11th. So this is why the changes were happening, because of this particular accident. Because of who was on board. If not, it probably would have went back to the status quo they always do. The system was getting old. The single system needed upgrade. They didn't give a crap. And unfortunately, Lawrence G. Ruder was part of that culture. He had an accident under his watch, questionable accident, and he left in a hurry. So unfortunately, when he became president of New York City Transit, he did the same thing Gunn did, anti-union. Yes, he's the guy who brought in CBTC to the airline, but unfortunately, he took too long to do it. Not only in the L, but on the 7 line. He left when they was still putting the CBTC in place. It took a long time. So Andy Bradford had to make threats to get the CBTC finally working on the 7. So Lawrence G. Ruder can never be Train Daddy. And why did I say he's one of the worst? Well, It's questionable behavior. He rubs people the wrong way. And of course, he had an ethics violation on his record too. He took gifts from a bus supplier and didn't report it. Golf clubs and tickets to the circus. I don't hear anyone from Peter yelling and screaming on that one, man. Oh yeah, Ringling Brothers bought him a circus when they were still in business. Didn't report it, hit with a $30,000 fine, and he still works for New York City Transit until 2007. He's also responsible for one of the worst transit strikes in New York City history, the December 2005 transit strike. Why is that one the worst? Because unfortunately, because when Bloomberg was still mayor, he forced the MTA to merge the private lines with the MTA and New York City Transit. When buses in the regular subway went on strike, the private lines went on strike with us. He's not very good. In fact, he probably had lawsuits also, courtesy of him. He has several union officials that sued New York City Transit because of anti-labor stuff, and they won. That's how Roger Toussaint became president of TW Local 100 in the early 2000s. So. And Lawrence Bruder, yes, did put his foot in his mouth and wanted to cancel the C line, let the A train local, and that didn't sit well with a lot of the passengers. So, not one of your great personality to run a transit system. And what happened after Lawrence G. Ruder left New York City Transit? He went into private business. Never to run a transit system ever again. Who wants a former president that led one of the worst transit strikes in history, running their agency? No one. So, to say Lawrence G. Ruder is one of these great human beings is a farce. To say Lawrence G. Ruder is one of the worst persons ever in the agency, we had the receipts to prove it. So, yes. So, going back to the original question, is Elon Musk an embarrassment, as his former employee said? No. The only reason why they're saying that because they didn't like the fact he was buying Twitter. They don't like the fact that he's changing his politics. And they don't like the fact that they weren't getting their way anymore. And they lost. You know, this is not Disney, folks. So, if you're thinking that Elon Musk is going to bend over and die, you're in for a world hurt, and you're already experiencing it. Believe me, I'd rather work for Elon Musk any day of the week than with Lawrence G. Ruder for the several years that he was there. I think it was 10 years or so. But it was a horrible 10 years or so. Write-ups, firings, illegally fires. In fact, it gotten so bad, they had a name for this discipline. Plantation discipline. Now, I bet you none of that is happening at SpaceX or Tesla. So, with no further ado, this is Alcan saying so long for now, and don't forget to stop. Yeah. Elon Musk an embarrassment. Nope. Woke people are an embarrassment.